Hi, Cheryl. I'm hoping you can tell me how our senior inquiry project teaches students to think critically and problem solve.
Sure. Well, our senior inquiry project is a project where students decide on the topic. So it's a student-centered research project that they design an inquiry for. So they ask a question, what can I learn about X topic? And then they actually have to go through the process of researching that topic through a series of different types of sources or genres, through interviews, primary and secondary sources. And so where the problem solving comes into the critical thinking skills for students is, first of all, trying to decide what types of sources they would need to look at and finding those sources in the search process. As they start to look for sources, if things don't come up for one particular search term, coming up with other things to search, looking in different places so that they get a variety of genres, coming up with people to interview and what types of questions to ask in the interviews to get the kind of information that they want. And then throughout this entire process, all the problems that they have along the way, so things don't work out, interviewers don't call them back, so how do they deal with those problems? So thinking their way around a solution, not just focusing on one person, or if something doesn't work out the way that they expected it to work out, what will they do to kind of solve that problem? And then gathering all that information together, all that research, and turning it into a product of some sort. And then presenting that product, explaining, teaching the class what they learned about the topic, how they created their product, what they learned about the process, what problems they had, and how they overcame those problems, dealt with those problems, etc.
Hi, Steve. I'm hoping today you can tell me how you teach, or if you teach, problem solving and critical thinking in your classroom.
Hi, Katie. I do teach problem solving and critical thinking a little bit in the classroom. With math, there's always problem solving and critical thinking. However, most of the math that's in the curriculum from the New York State is almost like a recipe. Like gives you got to solve this by doing this, this, and this. And if you can follow all the recipes, you'll pretty much get it correctly. It's hard to walk around and really teach deep critical thinking because when you have a class of 25 kids of 40 minutes, you really can't get to the one-on-one such that, before the bell rings. So by the time you actually get through the curriculum of what's in that particular unit, then you have 2 days you got to use for review, and you got to get a test. You don't really have a lot of time to say, all right, so now that we learned all of the, how to solve like specific, let's say like logarithm equations, let's go find out how they relate to earthquakes. Well, that right there would be really cool. Unfortunately, it would take about 3 or 4 days to really dig down and deep about why and critically solve it and think it. And you can't do that for every single chapter with 25 kids. And a lot of the times, of the 25 to 30 kids that are in your class, some of them are misplaced, which means they're really trying to be in there and work hard, or their parents want them to, when they should be in maybe like a non-Regents class.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to do all these impossible critical thinkings for a class of maybe 75 kids that could really almost kind of follow it, and the other 25 that can't. That's where you kind of get into some trouble. So you try to do what you can with what you got.
Thank you. So can you tell me how you teach critical thinking and problem solving in your science class?
Yes, I can. I teach AP Environmental Science, and recently I did an article on the ivory-billed woodpecker, and it involved close reading of the article, along with some questions that I'd written based on that article. I tried to get the kids to a higher level of thinking, to have a greater understanding of what the author was trying to portray and to say in his article. They had to look for words that were action words and circle them, give meanings of what the author meant behind what he said, look for adjectives, adverbs, and different things that described and gave more meaning to what he was trying to tell us about the ivory-billed woodpecker. We even went back to the title where it was just a number, and I asked the kids what the meaning of this article being just a number like 800635, and I asked the kids what that meant, and they took a while, but they came up with the fact that ivory-billed woodpecker is extinct, and that represented just being a number because it no longer existed. And I had them tell me how they felt about that, what the meaning behind the whole article was, and it was a very successful lesson, lots of fun. The kids really didn't like it that much because they had to think a lot more than just looking for the answer and looking for those answers that just involved direct knowledge from the text. But they had to interpret what they read, give meaning to what the author was saying. And after 26 years of never doing that as a science teacher, I found it really challenging and more difficult to actually write those kind of questions on an article like that. But it was very rewarding, and I actually enjoyed it and would probably try it again. It took a long time. It took me about 3.5 hours to do it, one lesson to actually write the questions, but it was well worth it, and I think the kids greatly benefited from it.
Thank you. Kim, can you tell me how you teach critical thinking and problem solving in your social studies classroom?
I pretty much don't teach it, simply because I have way too much content. Every year there's an additional year to the New York State Regents exam, and realistically I have to teach them enough information to pass the test. So I would love to teach it, but there's just not enough time for me to do that.
Thank you.